Hello, welcome to day 2 of the live 14-day challenge where we're working on changing your mindsets, really shifting mindsets and limiting beliefs that hold back your healthy eating and weight loss efforts. You know, we sometimes feel like we're working at odds with our own selves when we're trying to do healthy eating and weight loss. We have a certain intention and then it gets completely derailed, and it's like part of our mind said, we want to do this, we're going to make a change here, and part of our mind said, no, we're not. And that is part of what happens. And we are working these 14 days on changing those kinds of mindsets so that we can really, kick off or start off our next weight loss and healthy eating effort a lot more on solid footing so that we can have a lot more success. And I got to share with you, while Facebook is finding the audience, I just have to share, starting kind of a rough day today. I'm super tightly scheduled and I'm having really rough time with allergies right now. So my eyes, I've had to take my contacts out 5 times in the last 10 minutes. So hopefully that won't happen while we're together. But if it does, I'm sure that you'll be patient with me. And I don't know if you ever have a day like this, but I feel like I look 100 years old, right? And just bags under my eyes and can't keep my eyes open because they kind of hurt and itch. So anyway, I know you guys are all going to be kind about that. And we need to be kind to each other about those things. I have to say, I don't think I notice when somebody looks their worst, although sometimes I feel like, oh, that person looks kind of tired today. I don't notice when people gain weight, and I don't notice when people lose weight unless they tell me. It's like I'm reading the emotion and the interaction between me and another person a lot more than I'm reading sort of what's going on with their body or their appearance. Anyway, I'm glad that you're here. Please, as you start joining, please give us your name and where you're joining from so we can have a little bit of interaction and feel like we're here. I see Barb just joined. I'm so glad to see you here. Yesterday we talked about, the fact that we have these limiting beliefs and why we have them and where they come from and what some of them are. And they're just really common. When we have that feeling like our mind is sabotaging us, there's something real going on. I don't think we're understanding it exactly right that way. And we really can find a way to partner with these different parts of our minds. But it is really frustrating to make a decision at one moment, this is the way I'm going to eat, and to, by the end of the day, have a different decision coming from seemingly the same place, coming from within us. Anyway, it's important to address this belief that it should be easy, because that belief can be really discouraging and frustrating to us, and it can really cause us to give up. If we're finding it a little bit challenging to establish new habits, like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to eat for dinner now because it used to be this, and now I'm trying to eat differently than that. So what am I going to eat? And, the effort that you have to put in at first to changing how you're eating can feel daunting and frustrating, especially if you wait to plan dinner, for example, until you're really hungry. Then you're in trouble. You don't have the brain power now to come up with something new, and you're just going to default to what you've been eating. So part of it, when you're really ready to embark on a weight loss journey, part of it is changing your lifestyle, but a big part of it too is changing mindsets. So that's what we're doing this week. And the it should be easy mindset is one of those mindsets that we really need to change. I'm just going to check my notes here. Yeah. So why isn't this belief true? And it's really important to understand why it's not as easy as we think it should be to eat differently, to eat really healthy and stay slender. I used to believe too, look, human beings have been around for millennia at least. And I'm sure they weren't counting their calories, and they weren't counting how many carbohydrates and how many grams of protein they're having. It should be easier than this. I definitely had this attitude. It can't make sense for human beings to have to put so much effort into it. So let me explain to you why it's taking so much effort in these times to eat healthy and slender. And there's at least 4 ways that our environment is misleading us. Eating is a very habitual behavior. And so we're eating what we're used to eating and sort of what's around us. That's what human beings have always done. And what's around us now isn't as good for us. So one of the ways that it's not as good for us, and one of the reasons that we have to exert more effort about our eating, is that the healthy food has gotten less tasty, as it's been, we're having to feed a lot of people now, right? And so the food system has gotten very efficiency driven and profit driven. And that has truly taken a lot of the nutritional quality and a lot of the flavor out of our good, healthy foods. And at the same time, there's been this big investment in creating all these inexpensive, highly processed foods that are really tasty to us, that we like to buy, we like to eat and consume, but they don't have very much nutritional value at all. And sometimes they have a lot of destructive qualities for us, actually. So, sorry, I'm going to probably have to take this contact out. Excuse me. It's really giving me trouble today. I think I can talk to you with it out. Or not. It's one of those days, guys. So anyway, yeah, so part of the problem is that our food, the really good, nutritious food for us doesn't taste as good. It's not as available, and it's more expensive. And the really cheap food is really food-like substances. They're really not making our health what it should be. They're not making us healthy, and they're making it hard for us to lose weight, because when we're giving our body a bunch of food-like substances that really don't have a lot of nutrition, our bodies are going to hold on to that and say, we're not getting enough nutrition here. We need to hold on to whatever's coming in as fat. And at the same time, our bodies are going to send us hunger signals. So that puts us into a real difficult cycle, right? Where we're just going to be eating more and more of the kind of foods that really don't give us the nutrition that we need. Another thing that's happened that surrounds us in our environment that leads us astray is that people are eating all the time. People are eating while they're driving. People are eating at their desks. They're eating, 6, 7, 8 times a day instead of 3 meals. So our bodies don't have time to digest the food before we put in more food. That's problematic for us. And it really doesn't do good things for our metabolism. The other thing is, as far as our habits, not having delineated meal times makes us feel like we can eat anytime we're triggered to eat. And, there's a lot of advertising triggering us to eat all the time. And the fact that people are eating around us all the time is triggering. So that's one of the things also that's leading us astray. Let's see. The other thing about our environment is there's been a prioritization on convenience in eating. I remember back when I was a child, TV dinners, the idea that mom didn't have to slave away in the kitchen. She could just throw some things in the microwave and we could all be eating within a few minutes, was so exciting to people. Now, this has not slowed down, right? I know, 5 years ago when I was really trying to start on a healthy eating and weight loss journey that would be successful this time and sustainable, I thought, I cannot give up convenience. That's my top priority. I cannot put time into this. And I had to really change my mind about that. If that's because convenience foods tend to be food-like substances that don't have a lot of nutrition, and that we're going to overeat and are going to cause us to gain weight. So I had to change my priorities that way. And the fourth thing that's happening in our environment is we're getting a lot of terrible advice about dieting. So the idea that you should just cut calories and you should exercise more is this idea that makes a lot of sense, but doesn't turn out to be true or helpful at all when it comes to healthy eating and weight loss. Cutting calories is basically going to lead to you're going to lose a little weight for a while, and then you're going to gain back even more, because our bodies react with that, uh-oh, scary, slow down the metabolism and increase the calories coming in, increase the hunger so that we'll get more. So there's all of these things happening in our environment that are leading us astray, and that's why our population is becoming more and more overweight. At this point, more than 70% of people in the United States, in the UK, mostly around the world now, are overweight, and almost 40% are obese, and this has been increasing and increasing and increasing over the decades. And so at the same time, major diseases are increasing along with this. So diabetes and heart disease and cancer. And it seems a lot of us feel like we're aging more rapidly than we used to. So people are living longer than they used to, but our quality of life toward the end is really crummy. And because I work part-time seeing patients in nursing homes, I get to see really what that crummy life experience is like toward the end if you're not healthy, if you have diabetes and heart disease that's knocking you down. And at this point, you need people changing your diapers and things. It's a bummer. And starting to work in nursing homes is really what prompted me to finally find some successful way to change this for myself, because I could, at 55, I could see myself ending up in a nursing home in the next 10 years if I didn't make some kind of big change. So our environment is leading us astray. That's why it's not so easy. If we just eat the default diet that everyone else is eating, we're going to be overweight typically, and we're going to be more likely to be developing these diseases that we think of now as natural that go with aging, but they're not really natural. They have to do with what we're eating. The other thing I mentioned just a little bit is how much advertising is constantly triggering us to get food. It's designed to very quickly tell the part of our brain that acts quickly and that acts on desire, you need this food, you need to get it now, and you need to eat as much of it as possible. So let's see here. So our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't have to deal with all this. For us, eating what everyone else is eating, or what I find with most of the women that I work with, most of the people I work with, is we all feel like we're eating pretty healthy. All of us have a lot of ways we're trying to eat healthy, but it's not adding up to enough to be feeling healthy and energetic and to be staying slender. Basically, we're tweaking around the edges of the standard American diet, and that is not enough. We really need to eat quite differently from how people are eating around us. And I know when I say that, that can trigger a sense of fear and worry, like, oh, what do I have to do so differently? That sounds kind of scary. But the big things that we have to do differently is we have to avoid those highly processed convenience foods, food like, as Michael Pollan says, food-like substances that don't have a lot of nutrition, but trigger our bodies to kind of hold on to whatever comes in and trigger us to crave more. And we need to eat a lot more of the highly nutritious foods like fruits and vegetables and legumes and beans and nuts and seeds. I don't ever tell people you need to become vegan or vegetarian or any of those things, but we need to eat a lot more of those plant foods because humans evolved to get a lot of nutritional benefit from those foods. And when we eat enough of those foods, it also helps us not eat the foods that make us overweight. So we have to eat really quite differently. So yeah, our environment is leading us astray, but we really can take charge of this and change our mindsets and change our lifestyles to support eating in a way that is very healthy and is very slenderful. At first, it's a little daunting because the environment is pointing you so in the wrong direction. But once you start to become really aware of that, you can change your environment and your lifestyle so it really supports you. And you can change your mindset so that it really supports you eating in a healthy and slenderful way. So it should be easier, or I shouldn't eat this way, or you shouldn't behave that way. These should statements tend to be pretty difficult and destructive for us and tend to cause suffering. And I'm sure we've all talked about this. Oh, I'm shoulding all over myself. And I'm a big shoulder. I definitely grew up with that mentality of we should do this and we shouldn't do that. And that person shouldn't be doing that. And when you think about it, it's really a belief and an attitude that causes suffering. So I think when it comes down to it, when we're saying it shouldn't be like this or it should be like that, what we're really saying is, I don't like this. I don't like how uncomfortable this makes me feel. I don't like that it's not easier than this. And saying that is healthier for us than saying it shouldn't be like this or it should be like that. It's as difficult as it is to eat healthy in these times. I know I used to feel like it's just so unfair that the really healthy foods aren't the really, craveable, exciting foods that I want to just sit and eat and eat and eat. Now, I love the foods that I get to eat, the highly nutritious foods, and my clients love the foods that they get to eat. But at first, it can be worrisome, like, oh, I have to give up some of the foods that I've been really craving. You don't have to, but you have a lot easier, more enjoyable time going through healthy weight loss if you do give up those foods for a while, because they keep your brain kind of messed up as far as letting you know, as far as the satiety signals. Basically, it's hard to ever get a sense of feeling satiated or satisfied with your eating if you're eating those kinds of foods, because they break the satiety mechanism. I talk about that somewhere else, but today we're talking about mindsets. I don't know if you've heard about Byron Katie. She's very interesting. I see her as someone who brings sort of cognitive behavioral concepts to lay people, and she does it in such a loving and inspiring way. So I love to share what she talks about. What she does is she has you ask 4 questions of yourself, and you can use this too. So it should be easier than this. It should be easy to eat healthy and be slender. The first question she asks is it true? Is it true that it should be easy? Well, the way I think about that is it's as difficult as it is. You know, what our bodies need what they need. We can't just talk them into, look, I'm going to give you junk food every day, and I just want you to behave. I just want you to be healthy, and I want you to be slender, and I want you to do well. I remember back in grad school, I was so proud. You know, I was always a slender person at that time, and I could have a donut and coffee every day for breakfast and, you know, never gain any weight or never gain enough weight that it mattered, or I never felt overweight. Now I think, okay, I was in a way getting away with giving my body very poor nutrition or lack of nutrition in the morning. Why did I think that was such a great thing? Just because it tastes good and it's easy and convenient, I guess I felt like I was getting away with it. But really, our bodies need what they need. And when we're giving them nutrition, we're going to be healthy and energetic. And when we're giving them crummy things, food, you know, crappy food-like substances, they're going to suffer. And there's no way to talk them out of that. You know, that's just how it's going to happen. It can take a long time in a way for our bodies to really show the deterioration that happens when we eat a lot of things that aren't nutritious. But gradually, our bodies are going to show breakdown. And we're going to think it's natural aging lots of times, when really it's just that we're not giving our bodies the nutrition they need. So as far as, is it true that it should be easier than this? It's as easy or difficult as it is, given our current circumstances and how our bodies work. The second question she asks is, what is it? It's something like, can you be sure that it's true? So you think it's true that it should be easier than this, but can you be sure that it's true? And then the third thought she asks is, how does it make you feel when you believe that belief or think that thought? So I know for me, thinking it should be easier than this makes me feel crummy. It makes me feel like something might be wrong with the world, or something might be wrong with me, that I can't figure out how to make this change, that it's not easier than this, that it's difficult. You ever have that where you're embarking on some kind of change in your life, or you're trying to learn a new skill, and you're feeling like it should be easier than this? That thought does not help you, right? That thought makes you go, oh, I guess it's easier for other people, but it's not for me, or this is too hard. And both of those kind of thoughts are like lead to, I give up. You know, I don't want to have that feeling. I'm feeling like a failure. I'm having feelings of shame. I don't want that. So that's the third question she asks. And the fourth question she asks is kind of interesting. She has you ask yourself, who would you be without that thought? And I don't know, that question takes you to an interesting place. And in an upcoming live training, we'll talk about the idea of questions that are really constructive and really helpful for your brain and that send you into a helpful place, and questions that send you into an unhelpful place. So you can get more aware of that. So Byron Katie says, arguing with reality causes suffering, but only 100% of the time. And I think that's really profound. So when we're saying it should be like this, it shouldn't be like that, we're arguing with reality. It is like this. This is how it is. Our bodies actually need the nutrition we need, and our environment really is leading us very much astray. That's the reality that we're in. So it's a little bit challenging to change your diet enough to really get healthy and get slender and to live that way. It's a little bit challenging. What's interesting is my clients tell me, I found, my friends who have done this have found, you know, at some point, you do find yourself saying, this is easier than I thought it was going to be. I'm surprised. It's really not that hard. It takes some effort and some awareness for a while. And when it comes to eating, it's a little bit hard. It's a very automatic habitual behavior. It's a little bit hard to be you're early making these changes. But it really isn't that difficult to eat this way. And it really is very enjoyable to change how you eat and to eat this way. And when you start getting the benefits of better mental clarity and better energy and better mobility, and I got rid of chronic pain and inflammation that had been with me for decades. I got rid of a everyday ibuprofen habit. You know, when you start getting those benefits, you know, I'm fitting in size 6 clothes. I was in size 14, 18. I didn't feel like I looked good. All of these benefits were big for me. They made a really big difference in how I feel in my life, how I go through my life. So it really is pretty easy given those kind of benefits. I'm just going to take a look at my notes here. I have to stop before the half hour because I have an appointment then. So just want to check my notes. Let's see. So in another one of these trainings, I'll talk more about changing a thought, converting a thought. So like in this thought, for example, it should be easier than this. I would change that to something that's both more true and not so discouraging. So the change wouldn't be, it's easy, you know, because at first it's not. It took me effort, you know. I remember dinner being effort. I remember, you know, there was an effort with breakfast, but that was pretty quick. And there was a certain amount of effort with lunch, but that was pretty quick to get through. And there's been more effort over the years or, you know, over the months with dinner. But is it really true that it should be easier than this? It's not really that true. So what would be more true? I'm not going to say it's super easy. That's because that's going to be Pollyannish and I'm not going to believe it. And, you know, I'm just going to have resistance to that. But I'm going to change the thought to something like, it takes some effort, but it's certainly doable. That is actually more true. It takes effort, but it's certainly doable is more true. And it's definitely less discouraging and more constructive. And I'll talk more about how to flip a thought from one that's really discouraging and really defeating for you to a thought that's really more true and more constructive and helpful in an upcoming training. But for today, I want to talk about, you know, an approach that you can take to something being hard. So whether you're taking up singing in chorus like I am, it's feeling really challenging right now because with the symphony chorus, we're doing some Russian music and those words are hard, and then to try to get the notes right with these sounds, hard. So anytime we're taking up any kind of challenge like that, maybe you're starting to quilt or you've started to do dog agility competitions and it's a lot harder than you thought it was going to be. Anytime we're facing something like that, we're going to have some of those moments where we feel like, okay, I didn't know this was going to be so hard. I got to decide if I want to continue with this. And, you know, there's an optimal level of challenge. I don't know if you've heard this, but, you know, not enough challenge is like, this is boring. I don't want to do this. Too much challenge is this, I can't do this. This is too frustrating. This is causing me misery. And so just enough challenge is a great thing for us. And that's what a lot of people find with this changing their eating. It's a little bit challenging, but it's just enough challenging to really kind of make you feel like, all right, I rock. I'm doing really good with this. And hi, Bridget. Good to see you. So one of the big things you can do about a challenging activity is to say to yourself, you know, this is challenging, but I think I can do it. I'm going to stick with it. And when it comes to something, for me, when it came to something as important as my health, which was really declining and making my future look really scary and unhappy, you really want to develop this kind of indomitable spirit. I am not giving up on this. I don't care what happens. I remember having to do that with my doctorate. It's not that the classes were so hard or the amount of work was so hard. It was a lot of work, but it was hard to stick with because of the politics flummoxed me. I'm a very direct person and I could not understand why the professors were treating us the way they were, etc. So I had to really get determined. Like, I don't care what they do to me. I don't care how confused I get or how hard this is, or if they make me take, like in graduate school, there's incentive for the professors to keep you around as long as possible because you're kind of slave labor, which I hadn't understood at all before grad school. So I had to make up my mind. I don't care how long they keep me here. I am graduating. By the time I leave here, I'm going to have this degree. The same thing with the eating changes. I got indomitable about it. I don't care how hard this is. I am doing this. This is important. This is my life. I don't have a positive future without changing this. So I'm doing this. And it really, once you make up your mind about something, it's like the universe starts to support you, right? Once you're really determined, everything lines up to make it work for you. And that's what happened for me. My clients are finding the same thing. That's what can happen for you. Let's see. So what are the benefits? When you think about it, when did you rise to a challenge and stick with something you weren't sure you could stick with? Put it in the comments there. I'd love to see your responses on that. You know, maybe when you achieve a challenge that you didn't know if you could achieve, what are some of the benefits of that? Let's see, you might get some outcome that's really important. Like I just talked about the outcomes that I got when I really learned to eat healthy and slenderfully. Maybe you end up feeling really proud of yourself. Maybe you end up finding capabilities and resources within yourself that you didn't know were there. And for the rest of your life, you do know they're there and you can access them whenever you need. So I think that there's so much benefit to taking on this kind of challenge. That's part of the mindset I would encourage you to cultivate. It's not 100% easy, but it's a worthwhile kind of challenge. And once you make up your mind about it, it's so much easier than you thought it was going to be. Let's see here. The other thing is, for me, anytime I go through something really hard, I think, okay, I'm going to help other people with this because this was really hard for me. And if I'd had somebody guiding me along the way, it really would have helped. I often think I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book about this and it's going to change people's lives. And that's why it's worth it for me to go through this. I don't know if you have that, but that helps me get through something challenging. Let's see. Just checking my notes because I got to wrap up in the next 2 minutes. Yeah, so basically when you quit telling yourself this is too hard, it should be easier than this, it becomes so much easier. So I want you to think about, what do you want to do with this belief or attitude that holds you back, that goes, it should be easier than this to eat healthy and stay slender. So I encourage you to think about what you want to do with that and do some work with it. All this mindset stuff, you know, it's not going to change by me talking to you. It's going to change when you sit down and do a little bit of work with it. And if you're in the challenge, you have the workbook and that will help support you doing this work. And I want to tell you, you're on the path to getting slender for good. If you're starting to really question that thought, it should be easier than this, and you're starting to change that to something that's more true and more constructive for you. Once you become really determined, everything around you starts to support this goal. Tomorrow, we're going to work on a fundamental skill for transforming these beliefs. And so I hope that you'll show up here. That's really going to be a lot about how to build your awareness of what beliefs are getting in your way. The first thing, and it sounds obvious, it sounds too simple to be helpful, but it's really important, is really developing our awareness of the beliefs that are holding us back. So we don't find ourselves going, wait, what just happened? How did I end up changing my mind today and not even recognize it? So keep showing up to change your mind. Remember to invite your friends. I love you, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good day.